Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of the Almost Essential podcast. Joining me today is, again, Ep.2 Zelda. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, dude. I had the stream open and then immediately got blasted with the reverb of hearing you twice. I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right.
So, what you
Week
been up to this
two.
last week? I heard you reviewed a fancy new mouse in the last week. What do you think?
Yeah. So I bought this guy. This is the Razer Orochi, and I
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was Orakai because it sounds so much better, but it's not. It's Orochi. Um, and yeah, this is like we were talking about this before, and we wanted to kind of get into like the reversal of Razer's reputation, pretty much. And
The
it's
comeback.
yeah, and like I've always talked about how I've been talking lately about how they've sort of switched stuff up, but like if you look at the products, if you look at their product line, like pre the Viper, it's like just straight garbage. Like so I'll read the ones leading up to the Viper. So Viper was 2019. Um right? So before
Mm-hmm.
that, so Basilisk Essential like is I guess okay, and then you've got the Mamba Wireless, which comes in at 106 grams. So if you've been following the mouse trend
I
lately,
had
this
one
would
of
be
these,
like
by the way.
this would be what is considered like completely like a completely dead on arrival weight. Like you would just this would not even fly in the current competitive market. Like the Orochi is if you have a AAA lithium in it is 66 grams or like 68 grams wireless. Then you got the Mamba Elite, and like the Mamba just wasn't considered a very good like mouse in general. The switches weren't that good, and then you've got like the Naga Trinity with its own thing. So the Lancehead is where you kind of want to like this mouse before the Lancehead tournament edition, right? Razer was on the laser like sensor trend, and they were like trying desperately to make this shit work, and they just put it in like every single mouse. Like the Mamba was a laser mouse, like, but you notice here that like the Death Adder, the Elite, they refuse to ruin it, so it's the only one with an optical infrared sensor. Like all the other ones are like laser sensors. Like they tried for a long time, and basically everything that wasn't the Death Adder was like too heavy and too like just poorly built. And then
Mm-hmm.
you come down to 2019 and they released the Viper, 69 grams. Like just take in that the mouse that like would have been like competitive with its size, I guess should be the Lancehead, was literally almost twice as heavy as it was, right, with the shape and size. So you're going from Lancehead to Viper within the course of 2 years. They cut the weight in half, and then you've got the Viper Ultimate, which people still like buy en masse. Death Adder V2 is now 82 grams. The Viper Mini is 61. They haven't really missed. Like they have their obviously like their weird mice, like the Naga and stuff like that, which is an interesting like mouse for MOBA, not MOBA players. Yeah, MOBA, right? No,
Yeah. That,
RPG, like
or
RPG, like people, and MOBAs and RPG players. What's
the
WoW?
people who played the other games that
What
require all
is
the
WoW?
macros in it.
WoW is it's not a MOBA. God, it's not an RPG. What
Oh,
is it,
God. You can tell we're real-time strategy people, huh?
dude? What's the acronym? Save me, chat.
Oh, what is this? RPG. Yeah, it's
That's it.
World of
Is it
Warcraft is an
RPG?
RPG. 100%.
MMORPG. Woo!
MMORPG.
Oh, okay, we made it.
We almost
Okay,
had to
so
turn in our gamer cards there.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely. So yeah, like
No, this
everything
is
that
not
they've done,
pre-recorded.
definitely not, dude.
We wouldn't have had that there.
So apparently my mic is too quiet.
I can boost you on this end a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I turned mine up a bit as well. I forget that it's boosted in OBS sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, basically like even Death Adder V2 Pro is an 88 gram wireless Death Adder, which is like lighter than the Death Adder used to be, kind of deal. Viper 8 kilohertz, 71 gram, and also it's now like 8,000 hertz, and with the crazy new clicks that are really good. And then you get to the Orochi, which is like sub 60. So like they basically haven't really missed on any of their new products. Like none of these products, even the Basilisk, for people who are like G502 lovers, like they love the Basilisk because it's it's still weighty and still ergonomic, but it's quite
Mm-hmm.
light considering its size. So it's like really everything here hits. And it's just crazy to see how basically before that they were releasing shit that like in the mouse community you would just never even like you would never even touch any of this shit. Like you wouldn't even look at it.
This was one of the really cool things that I thought about this mouse of like being able to sell this to people who just want to like grab a notebook and go like a laptop and they want a game. Yeah. And you're able to just take a AAA battery and not have to worry about charging it and stuff for quite a long time.
Bro, they did.
I
don't want to ruin my own review because I'm gonna do a review here. But they did some shit here that's like so legitimately insane, like for value, like because it's one thing to be like, yeah, so you own a mouse, right? Buy this other mouse. It's like, okay, well why? So like, let's say you own a G305, G305 being its main competitor in the space, I think, or maybe the one that SteelSeries made, but I've tried that and it feels like absolute crap comparatively. So like, you look at this mouse, right, and it's got on it 2 slots for batteries, a AAA and a AA, right? And so they already thought about that. Like, do you want longer battery life? Like, do you want 6 months of battery life, or do you want a lighter mouse? You have both options built into the shell. I chose to put a AAA battery in a AA case in the center because it's better for weight distribution. So like, they really thought about everything with this thing, and it's built like an absolute tank. And it supports like proper wireless, like 2.4 gigahertz, like super fast, like super responsive band, and also Bluetooth. So like, if you're buying a mouse that you want to use on a day-to-day basis that performs extremely well, but then you also want to take this mouse with you on travel, or if you want to go sit on the couch or whatever, shit's perfect. Like if you want to use this with your iPad or your laptop or like whatever you've got kicking around, it's right there. It does everything for like a really affordable price. Like I think 69 USD. Like you just get a lot with it. There are others that do both, but this is the one I think does it the best. It's got like really nice feet on the bottom. I didn't bring the G305 in again, but like the feet are like these tiny little black PTFE feet. I think they killed it with this thing. Like the value proposition is really sick, and it's really nice to be able to be like, hey, so like I play games like, once a week. What should I buy? It's like, well, this thing, because it gives you actual value outside of just playing games. It gives you more than what you pay for, essentially, if you're buying it for just like for gaming. You get a lot out of it.
And this is one of those things I like, especially about hardware, is if it's able to be multifaceted, you're not stuck with doing one thing.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Razer's just trying to get you to buy like 5 copies of 5 different mice. So like, all right, listen, for a couple extra bucks, throw a Bluetooth sensor in here and we're good. Like it's not. They're just trying to get you to buy their shit instead of someone else's.
Right. I appreciate the moves that Razer's been making recently and going the right direction. Right. Ep.2 is going to do a whole great big in-depth interview of that. Make sure you go if you're interested in this topic.
Yeah.
He'll dive super deep into it.
Yeah, I'll do my overall thoughts, but the real reason is very interesting as to why their shift has occurred is that Razer became a bunch of Redditors. Like the mouse team, the team that makes mice and designs mice, they literally infiltrated the r/mouse review subreddit, and they just like actually respond to the community and ask them what they want. And then they even tease stuff in there, and they they even troll people when there's like being leaks and stuff. Like they've just became memers.
Connected to the community is a huge thing.
Instead of like wearing it, like having a chip on their shoulder and just like making shit kind of like they know what people want, they decided to take their R&D and their budget that they have because they're Razer and just flex on everybody. That's why they have no holes in their mice, and their mice are lighter than everyone else. I guess not the case anymore with the super light, but it's like very competitive. Their shit's built well because they have the R&D for it now. And they're actually listening.
Someday I hope their software catches up.
Synapse is awful.
This is the number one reason I don't have one right now.
Chat, do you know the only good thing about Synapse? Go. You can uninstall it.
Yes.
That's the only good thing about Synapse is that you can get rid of it. Yeah. That's the only thing. I have to keep it for the lighting.
The only thing better than uninstalling Synapse is never having to install it on a machine in the first place. So like I actually have it on my laptop. I configure the hardware if I need to on that laptop, and then that never actually runs on my PC.
If you're blessed enough to have to use 400, 800 1600 DPI and I think 3200.
Yep.
Like any of those, then you don't have to install Synapse at all. It's got those onboard DPI profiles like chilling.
But RGB. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, there's no RGB on this mouse.
I know.
You don't need.
So
most
of the people, most of the people install Synapse just to control the RGB, right? But
my cheeky keyboard fireplace is run through Synapse, which is like, really nice. I just bought the Viper Ultimate because they were on sale for $92 on Amazon. Yeah, well, there's a reason why every single Razer mouse is on sale right now, and because they're about to refresh everything. I think you're gonna get a Viper Mini Ultimate, Viper V2 Ultimate. I'm very curious because the Viper Ultimate is like their flagship, and it was like the main competitor to the Superlight, and so I'm very curious like what they're gonna do with that thing now. Like, how are they gonna try and beat the Superlight, or are they just gonna like revision to it and then call it a day, or like are they going for the crown? Like I don't. It's very every company seems to have like a flagship, like it has everything and it's like killer. And it's got like it's wireless, low weight, long battery life, but then you're paying $200, and it's just insane. But like they have it. They have these for the budget kids, and they've got the Viper Mini. Like they've got their budget lines, like all their ripoffs and shit. But they've got a king, and it sits there with everything. And it's
like if you have the money, we have the wares.
You've got the money, exactly. I'm very curious how far they push the Viper Ultimate. It's very curious to me.
I always appreciate hardware companies that are at least pushing that envelope and of developing a supercar. Like, not everybody's going to buy the supercar, but at least somebody's developing it in tech space.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the nice thing about mice is that they're supercar but cheap. Like, if you really think about it, like, you can spend $200. Like, you can convince yourself that it's worth it.
If you're in another space, like if you buy like I was memeing about cars, but like if you tried to buy a supercar, like you're spending $300,000. That's another matter. But it's relatively cheap budget.
I think the peripheral version of supercars is like keyboards, where you could like get some crazy obnoxious switches that are super hard to find in a.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Up a Tree Zelda.
Yeah, bro. Like you can go.
This is your life,
dude. You can buy like $4,000 keyboards. It's actually insane, and like the difference is literally how rare the pieces are to find. It's not even. You're not even getting anything. Like you're not getting performance or even feel really. You're just like, okay, so these switches, I had to go into a dumpster, fish them out of some like old ass keyboard. Like, yeah, it's crazy, man. There's a lot of crazy builds.
Some of the stuff we're talking about today as a main topic. One of the things we wanted to talk about was the Instagram and Facebook story. There's recently a news article that's come out that Facebook and Instagram are threatening to charge for access on iOS 14.5 unless you give them their data. Like, give Facebook and Instagram.
I suppose before that, we should start with what Apple did, because that's what
it might
really
be good
triggered.
To give context for this. Okay.
Yeah, it really triggered it. Yeah. So you want to go or do I want to go?
You go on that one.
I talked a lot. No. Oh, you want me to go? Okay.
You go on that one, yeah.
Yeah, so basically every single iPhone has a universal cross app identifier. So like you have a number, and that number links to your iPhone. And apps can choose to track data between apps using that universal identifier. And Apple basically said, hey, listen, okay, if you're going to be on our devices, the users now need to explicitly give you permission to be able to see, work with, and access that number and all of the data that's on associated with that number. And so now, basically, I have it turned off, and I think most people will have it turned off. You just basically don't
most
let
people
the apps
do who's are self-conscious or internet privacy.
Well, because it literally
people.
Apple is so cheeky because the way that they frame it, it's not like they're like, hey, do you agree to these in the footnotes terms? They're like, hey, do you want to be tracked, bro? And you're like, no, I don't want to be tracked. What's wrong with you? It's like, well, do you want me to ask you later? And you're like, no, I don't want you to ask me ever again.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll ask you again in like 2 weeks. Do you still want to be tracked?
So then they've got like a ask the app not to track, and then it takes you to the thing, and then at the top there's a ask all, like never allow any app to ask to trap. Like the way that they set that shit up is that they were like, yeah, you're not going to be tracking our users as long as they're not dumb. Like they're all going to click, don't track me, bro. Like,
and so that's going to become the default for it very easily. Yeah.
And so Facebook is obviously tilted as shit because like iOS is huge. It affects not just, gotta remember, like it's not just iPhones, but like your iPad, your iPhone, your people who use
your
Macs,
entire ecosystem.
Your entire ecosystem is tied into this number and into iOS, and now people are just going to disappear off the map for them. Like,
so Facebook now, who his company makes money by tracking all your stuff, what are they going to do? What's their business model? How can they sell you ads if they can't track you? What's the future for this? So they're like, you know what, guys? Let's charge them.
Yeah, they're going to threaten to charge their users money to use their platforms. Like that's the new. And you know what? Good. Because I think that's better. I think paying $5 a month to use Instagram so that Instagram doesn't rely on ads to operate and basically, cause people to become more and more radicalized via crazy ass ads. And Instagram's not so much like, because you're basically just getting product placements all the time. And there's no, like, you can get assigned to, I don't think Instagram, I don't know if it's a marketplace of ads, but on Facebook, you can get advertised groups, which is obviously a problem. Like if a Facebook group can advertise for itself and then, you're on some sort of rabbit hole and then this group joins, like gets you in there, you get kind of sucked in. Instagram's a little bit more innocuous in that it's like, hey, do you want to buy a jump rope? Like, hey, I see that you're like watching a lot of fitness models.
Oh,
like,
you clicked on some legging pictures. We're gonna sell you leggings for the next.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that they have like groups or anything, or they like different users and stuff. It's far more of a classic ad model, but Facebook is truly like scuffed. I think it's better that they give you an ad-free experience and an untracked experience. Like, I want to know if they're talking about. I want to know if they're talking about removing ads. Or if they're talking about like, hey, in order to keep this setting off, we're gonna try not to, like, we won't use this anymore because they have other ways of serving you ads, like, and it's better this way. Like, it really is, because what you're giving up, like, people think like, oh, but I don't want to pay money, it's free. Well, you are paying. You're paying a lot. You just don't know.
I think this is going to drive the conversation towards people realizing what's going on, and it's like, you are the content. If you're not aware of this, you
Absolutely.
are it. And I think society in general is having like a big kind of awakening on some of these fronts where they're like starting to wake up and be aware of that. Like, people
yeah.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Now. It's fine.
Oh, my bad.
It's the interrupting podcast. we just have to do this to each other before we.
Sorry.
It's fine. So some of the issues are, if people are going to try to be like, what they're trying to do is be like, oh, open Facebook. How do we get the user to click the allow us to track you button again? Oh, we'll charge you for it. Oh, did you know you can do this for free and don't have to pay if you go into your settings and allow us to track your data? And that's what they're trying to get. They're trying to shape the user behavior to go do that again, so that Facebook gets to track your data. I think this has been like kind of a long time coming, and people are realizing that, wait, how is Gmail funded? Like, Gmail's been free forever. Well, let's just say if they're hosting servers for you and they're trying to sell you ads up there, like, it's part of an ecosystem. And you can only make the argument so far with Google that our ecosystem is what pays for the system. But they're in an ecosystem based on ads, selling ads. So if you go on YouTube, they're going to sell you ads. Like, all this data is being tracked everywhere. And when people realize I am the product, my data is the important part, pay to keep it mine, pay to keep it private, I think we're going to slowly move in a better direction as a society when we realize what our data is and where it is. I think Edward Snowden maybe started this, and like, it's slowly starting to catch up bit by bit.
He unironically might have started the shift, because I mean, he was more of like a government tracking you kind of thing. But
still, it is the
tracking,
spark, you know?
Well, definitely, I think people just began to be like a little bit more conscious about the idea that you can be tracked, period. And then that, yeah, I mean, so there have been so many scandals past that though. Like Cambridge Analytica was a huge one where just like people realize like, wait, so it's not just like we can get targeted with political ads, and then the whole disinformation campaign that came out of that was like, because people, I've heard this argument so many times now, and like people say like, oh, I don't care, like they can see whatever they want of mine, and I'm like, you don't even realize what they're doing to you.
You have no concept of the idea if you're willing to just give it all away.
The fucking articles that you're getting to read, and you click on them thinking that you're being served them because they're what you want to see. Like, that's a problem. Like, you're only ever seeing what you want to see. There's no differing opinions.
Congratulations, you've created your own bubble.
Yeah,
you're stuck.
Like you're caught in your own fucking whirlwind of ideologies. And obviously, like, that's what people do naturally, but at least if, you know, it's easier to, if you just Google something, it's easier to find an alternative opinion if you're not being tracked, actually.
And if you know how to use Google in the way where it's intentionally looking for it. So many people use bias where they Google stuff to only... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like, I was just wanted to bring up, like, I've been using DuckDuckGo, which feeds off of Google's API for search, and my results between the two services are really, really different. Like,
vastly different. Worlds different.
And it's actually so different that I understand why Google's probably like pretty salty about it, because the Google ads are better. Or the Google results are literally better because they have an idea of what you want. They're trying to tailor the search results to you, whereas DuckDuckGo feeds them an anonymous question and they get an anonymous answer and then they give you the results. And they're very different. Like, there's crazy different sets of information that you get from the two services, even though technically they're using exactly the same API. It's you're the fact that you're the differing factor.
I found this article kind of funny. Like, this is from signal.org.
Yeah, I was looking at this. Yeah.
You got this.
So explain to me how this. Yeah.
Hang on. We have audio someday. Side point. Someday we're gonna have audio listeners only, maybe. But we got to do like 3 to 5 podcasts first. Right. So I'm reading this out loud so that the future audio only viewers, if they go back and listen, they'll be able to hear this. But there's a ad that's fake, right? But it says, you got this ad because you're a newlywed Pilates instructor and you're cartoon crazy. This ad used your location to see that you're in XYZ. It has a random location here. You're thinking you're into parenting blogs and thinking about LGBTQ adoption. Like, oh, congratulations. There's a whole set of data we just collected on you, and now we're going to try to track you and sell you exactly that little bubble.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But what I like about this is that it, like, you know, you might have gotten an ad for, like, you know, a crib, but then this shows you like what determined that you wanted to see that crib, and then you realize, holy shit, like, this company actually has a database of everything you've done.
Because you searched diapers on Amazon 24 hours ago. Now we're selling you a crib and a stroller. Like,
but they have a running list. Like, it's not just like they see what you've done in the last 24 hours, bro. I've had this before, and they've tried to deny this shit happens, and I was convinced. My wife said something, like, I can't remember what product what we were talking about, like what product it was, and it was like something she'd seen somewhere, or it was completely irrelevant to anything we own, anything we do, anything we are. And literally, because she hadn't turned off the mic access in Instagram, she got an Insta ad for something just like it when she opened her phone. Like, there was no reason. I cannot remember what the hell it was, but she got an Instagram ad for it literally right away. And I was like, my mind was just like, holy shit. And she was like, how is that possible? I thought Apple didn't let them do that. And I was like, check your permissions, because you might have installed that shit before Apple was, like, you know, basically blocking everything. And it's true. She had mic access enabled. And it hasn't happened since she disabled it.
That's crazy.
I don't give any of those fuckers
There's
permission.
multiple stories like this.
Dude, it's a very real thing. Like, of course they're gonna farm your mic for data if they can. They're gonna farm anything they can, everything, if it's possible.
This is their job.
Yeah, I mean there was a pie chart. I literally saw this today. I do not remember where, but like of all of how it was a YouTube video talking about how like why Apple values privacy so much and like why they're doing what they're doing, and it showed a pie chart of how much of the income that each company makes via ads. And I think Facebook makes 97% of its income from ads. Google actually makes 84%, which is crazy because I thought it would be actually more. I think Amazon's midway, and then Apple makes obviously nothing because they don't sell user data.
Amazon's from so much from AWS. It's crazy. People don't know they're just running the internet.
Yeah. They basically run the internet, and most people don't even know that.
They don't even think about this.
Their biggest market is something that nobody.
This is what Google's actually trying to go after right now. Is like they're aggressively pricing their cloud services and hosting options to try to grab some of the AWS market.
I hope so.
Right now.
Actually, because it'd be very nice if there were actual competition for AWS.
Yeah, that's probably beyond the scope of most of the listeners to our podcast, but might be something we dive into at some point. One of the fun things that I've thought about in general is like the positive way this is trending. And like, here's a graph that shows ad block monthly users on mobile. Like this has gone up 10% in the last year. Like this is continuing. Yeah. People are tired of getting tracked. It's not just, I don't want ads. I don't want to be tracked. This is like a wave of people slowly starting to come to terms with this, realize it, and try to take active action against it. Installing Brave on your phone blocks actually a lot of this stuff.
Most of it, I think. Brave is very extensive in the amount of shit that they don't let you, that they don't do. But there's so many other things, man. Like, if you tried to open a news article recently, like, the ads that you get is like, oh my God, every paragraph is just a gigantic banner ad. It's insane. Like, using it, it's almost like we're back in like the early thousands with how terrible the ad experience
Where grandma has 19 toolbars and it's like you get a little bit of text in between like your great big giant ads, Windows XP style. Looks so like adware running everywhere. The most annoying ones for me are on mobile is the ones that take up like the entire part of your phone and they like try to be like a background image for something. So as you're scrolling, it's like it shows you a window into extra content, but it's a massive window and I have like a large phone this way. So it's like even warped, and so it's like a whole page worth of content that it's like forces in the middle of my content reading. This just,
and if you tap it,
a car
it brings you somewhere else,
and it'll just take you off to Honda or wherever it wants to take you. Like, and it's a full screen ad, so like just trying to type it to swipe it more. If you messed up, like now you clicked it, like leads you down a rabbit hole. I think in general, there's going to be a revolution where people fight back a little bit harder against this. Brave is doing more aggressive ad marketing to try to be like, hey, pay attention. We don't track your data. We're built on the Chromium engine. Google's actually doing a thing where they're slowly working on trying to, this is on the back of a whole bunch of things, but last 2 months ago, was it? They announced some big changes with how they wouldn't be tracking people as they install and use cookies, and it's forcing people to change how they use cookies on the internet. Like,
right.
I don't remember the specifics of that, but there's several waves of these things.
Yeah, I mean, Google has the thing about Google is that Google has to do something. They got to do something because
Google and Facebook both, they have so much bad PR. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But Facebook is just infinite bad PR.
It's
right?
just so much.
I think Facebook has an amount of bad PR that I don't know if they could ever actually dig themselves out of the bad PR hole. Raise is actually a really good example. Like the quality control and like issues that they've had as a company go so deep that people who haven't purchased a Razer product in 10 years like still complain to me about how they're not durable and how they won't last and how they're not worth it. And like, the people working on these mice probably weren't working there 10 years ago. Like, let's be honest, like it's a completely different team and the products are completely different. And, the people who are reviewing them and using them, like they use a lot of different products, right? So their reputation is being salvaged, but their reputation was not that great for like 5 or 6 years there. Facebook's reputation is like straight up malicious, like not just bad. Like people think that they're actually like people actually dislike like fuck Zuck is a real thing.
Yes.
Like people like there's no way for them to crawl out of this hole. Like
it's so bad that like people
them.
Just when they sign up and they go like, yes, I know I'm signing my soul to the devil. I know Zuckerberg's gonna owe me, but I need to use Facebook. So here, like they know full well there's so much bad PR every time they talk about like, oh, we're having a privacy update. We're going to do better with this. We're going to do better with that. Everybody just rolls their eyes and it's like, yeah, no, nobody expects that. Oh, magically Facebook's never gonna track you. Like,
oh, because every time they do a privacy update, they reset all your settings, you know, so now everything's
to their
open.
new defaults. Yeah.
It's super. It's just so scummy, and like everything that they've done is so scummy that it's just.
It's very
like,
annoying.
Oh my god, it's very ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know if they could ever get themselves out of that one, honestly. But Google has a chance, like, but they actually. The problem with them is that they have. I think that they have a lot of like upcoming competition in a lot of their sectors. And I think that they have a real issue on their hands where they might like, so Android, like if iOS and privacy becomes too much of an important factor, like Apple's selling budget products now. Like you can buy a $400 iPhone, right? Like you can buy a $400 Pixel, but you can buy a $400 iPhone as well. And you can get used iPhones that hold up for another 4 or 5 years. You can basically, if you want to be privacy conscious, like there's a device that you know, even if you're not, you know, an Apple believer, like they say we're doing, you know, you can believe us or not, but like Google makes no such promises. So they can actually bleed market share to this exact problem. So they have a visibility thing, but Google gets a little bit less shit because they're just like, yeah, we're an ads company. Like, I don't know what the fuck you want from us. Like, that's literally what we do. You know, we're not like trying to connect you with any like bad people. We're just like trying to advertise to you. Like, you want a better shovel? Like, I don't like. Do you want a stroller? Like, we're trying to give it to you in the first few lines. You know, they don't come off as bad, and they kind of keep their head down. I think a lot more. They probably do a lot of crazy shit too, but they just don't have the same level of.
One thing that's been really interesting is like watching the price of Google and Android hardware over the past couple of years. Just this weekend, I had a friend who needed a phone, and we grabbed a burner phone, and we went into Target, and there's a phone that we paid $60 for, and we got A01 or A10. I think it's an A01, and that phone for $60 gives Samsung, yeah. And it gives you such a good experience for like the $60 price point that wasn't possible 3 years ago. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Like you get most of a really solid Android experience and you paid $60. And that included like, you know, a month, 5 gigabytes unlimited talk text or whatever, right? On a small prepaid plan. But that's just mind blowing when that level of technology used to cost quite a bit to reach into.
Well, Samsung does their own ad shenanigans too, which is why their phones are super cheap. Because you can, like, I ranted pretty hard on stream the other day with Samsung. I don't want to do that again. But Samsung is like,
was this about the watches? Was this the watch?
Yeah, one? Because dude, I bought your product, man. Stop trying to sell me ads. It's actually like, right now, you know, with the fight, it's so interesting because it really feeds. Like Samsung is exemplifying in another way the same problem that right to repair. Anti-advocates, like adversaries, so right to repair adversaries, it's a position that they take, which is that, you know, we kind of own your device after it's left our shop. Like we build you this phone, but it's still kind of ours, you know, like it's, you say it's yours and we say you own it. Like you paid the money for it.
Have you heard about the light bulbs? The light bulbs
Yeah, that's
story?
real.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of, I don't know that our listeners have heard this, but the story goes along the lines of, or I shouldn't say the story. The account of this goes along the lines of that products were made, they're supposed to have a certain sort of lifespan, and if you make it too good of a product, then it goes away. If you make a light bulb that goes too long, the light bulb companies can't sell you any more light bulbs. Like planned obsolescence. Most people know or have heard of this. So the thing is, how on earth do we make planned obsolescence in this day and age? And force it to merge with the right to repair. And how do we make a version of this that like allows free enterprise and the capitalism to continue to improve and make new products, but not like get us stuck in a spot?
Well, you make products worth buying.
Mm-hmm. Can you make them repairable? Apple?
Yeah, of course.
Can I replace my battery? Can we make this law now? I would love it.
Apple's shit's like, Apple's like I don't give them a pass for this actually at all. But Apple, I can understand like it's like a moment where you shove your head so far up your ass that it like is your head again, and like that is what Apple is. Like they believe that they've
turned themselves inside out so much.
Yeah, they know what you want so they know what you want so bad, so badly that they don't believe anyone else could possibly fix your shit except
we are the ultimate.
Well enough. We're the ultimate.
We're like the ultimate hardware makers. Nobody. Don't even think about another hardware.
Which is complete shit because, like Louis Rossman has pointed out, their engineers are like they need help, and their repair shop is like, okay, we're just gonna put a new thing. We're not even gonna fix it. It's like, yeah, Louis Rossman's doing a lot of great work on the right to repair front, but.
I have admired Louis Rossman so much. You can't mention right to repair these days without mentioning Louis Rossman and his work towards educating the public and pushing out that.
Yeah, he reminds me of Total Biscuit in the sense that like he'll carry right to repair on his erect dick. Like he'll do it.
He literally will.
He will.
It doesn't matter how much it costs him, how long it takes. Like he's going to make this happen.
He's gonna do it. And the thing is that he just makes these like right to repair adversaries look like idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Because no amount of lobbying money is going to make you right. Yeah. Oh, you can't just order parts because what they do is they add like Apple's done the shit where they're like they add DRM to the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can't just take if I have this mouse, right, and I have a second mouse, just like I can't take the click from one mouse and swap it because there's literally firmware in that button that says no, it's not where I didn't come from here.
My ID doesn't work
here. It's absolutely, oh my god, it's absolutely insane. Like I just can't. I can't. Some of that shit is just so insane. Like, but it's the same. It's the same mindset. Like that I was getting back with Samsung. It's like Samsung saying like, oh yeah, so like we sold you this $1,000 device, but it's still ours. So we're gonna advertise on it, just everywhere because we can and because we control the OS. And it's not really your phone, like we control the experience, so you see what we want you to see and not what you want to see. So that's
okay, which ads did you get on the Samsung phone? I was going to ask this because
I got like a banner ad. I got a banner ad of their own products, and I got banner ads for just like VPN services and like whatever.
See, the VPN services one I never had. I've never had that experience.
It's in the health app though.
Yeah, in the health app, I get an I see like
Have you ever
Samsung
scrolled
card.
To the side?
Yeah, Samsung Card and Samsung Watch are the two things, the ads that I get there. But I don't get like an advertisement for like a non-Samsung product. I've never.
Do you
had
own
that.
a Samsung phone? Yeah, okay, you do, right?
Yeah, we can do this live on stream. Let me see if it pops up.
It's possible that because you own a Samsung phone, they don't advertise for other products in there. But even advertising for their own product, it was the app. It was a Samsung app on my OnePlus phone, the health app that was advertising to me in the banner. But they do this.
Okay, so it wasn't Samsung hardware. That was like.
No, it wasn't Samsung hardware. But the watch was Samsung hardware.
Right.
Right. But they do it with their TVs too. So I know that it's company-wide policy.
The TVs are like bullshit. I don't like smart TVs at all. Just let me get.
I don't connect that shit to the internet. Yeah, I just connect.
Let me just put an HDMI cable into this display and let me put out exactly the pixels I want to. Thank you very much. Go away. Is that too hard to ask? Apparently so.
Dude,
everybody's making smart TVs these days.
Because they realize that they can literally sell you a TV for $300, $200 because they just collect your data instead. Like you'll pay for it like 50,000.
That one's way more cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, man, we're just gonna like we'll sell you this. We'll give you the TV for free. Just watch shit. Like, don't worry.
Just let us do our thing.
We'll make our money back. Yeah, it's so insane. It's bananas, actually. That entire mentality just drives me up the wall. How you could rationalize charging someone $1,500 for a TV and then advertising to them in that TV just blows my goddamn mind.
Someday.
It really does.
Someday we'll go back to this, but like I have the feeling that most people don't know all this stuff that's going on. They just go in, they buy a TV, and they just want a TV. That's it. Like they don't care about anything else going on.
No one thinks about their TV being like the enemy.
Because it shouldn't be. Right?
It shouldn't be. Yeah, exactly.
The problem is, like, how do you regulate that? Do you like? It'll be 300 years before Congress catches up with getting us broadband internet that we're supposed to have 20 years ago. So if we want them to regulate TVs, we'll be on to holodecks and chips implanted in our mind by the time they actually come out with policy for smart TVs. Like,
well, and they get lobbied, to shit, right?
Out the wazoo. One of the best things I've ever heard, best ideas I've ever heard about Congress is have every member of Congress wear like one of those NASCAR suits that has the spots for all the patches, and it shows how big the patches are for how big your lobby or how big your sponsors are. So we can see when you walk into Congress, look at that big Pfizer one on his. Oh, look. Oh, now we know he's going Johnson.
That's good.
Like, that's what I want.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Reality ever happen? Nah.
God. Oh man.
Robin Williams quote says dubstep. Yeah, that would make sense. So
yeah, man.
Let's see. Any other thoughts on that topic?
No, it's a big topic, but yeah, the ad shit is. Yeah, I mean the problem is that the ad topic has been rolled into the tracking topic, and they're two separate topics. One. Like kind of you can't sort of separate them anymore. Ads are one problem, like from a usability perspective and like an annoyance factor and all this shit. But people can't seem to detach that from the tracking like portion, which is what I think is the actual like the negative thing. Back to the original question, I would gladly pay $5 a month for Instagram if I never got served another ad for the rest of my life. Like
I kind of have to use Instagram and Facebook for business. It's just I'm in the 21st century. I run digital media shit. Like,
I think it makes sense. Like, pick a social media platform or two and pay for them, and have an ad-free experience. Like you do it with Spotify. Like you have a music streaming service. Like, you know, it would improve the quality of the app itself, right? It would include improve the experience, and they wouldn't have to be malicious to do their jobs. Mm-hmm. Like, you wouldn't have to literally have people at Instagram worried if they're the fucking bad guy. You know,
if you're looking at business this way, it's kind of interesting to see how Facebook and Microsoft and other players are starting to like build their own like bundles. Like, okay, if you paid for Facebook, you're also going to get Instagram and WhatsApp for free. Yeah. Like it's included in a bundle. If you use Twitter, you get Twitter Premium. If you use a Microsoft service, I know the Discord meme's dead. They're like talking to Sony or whatever now, but like it's going to be interesting to see how the bundles for this roll out, because it feels like we're slowly returning to, you get to pay monthly for bundles. Like everything's trying to charge you monthly services these days. Everything used to be on Netflix. Oh, not now. It's on Hulu, Disney Plus.
Yeah, but even that thing. Yeah, even that makes more sense because like eventually I think what you'll find is there'll be like 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 5 tops like content platforms. Mm-hmm. And then there'll be a saturation. Like, if you aren't one of those 5 platforms, you're not like...
Get on them or you're dead.
Yeah, get on them or you're dead because people aren't going to sub to more than that. And you'll find that people will rotate. So, like, I'm sure services will come out that will allow you to, like, hit a couple, like, okay, so I'm going to pay $25 a month, and I'll just check off the boxes, like, which ones I want this month, and then you'll just get auto-resubscribed.
Can I do Hulu this month and Netflix next month? Like, can they...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The convenience can't be overstated. Like, it is Netflix and, like, Disney Plus and Crave and stuff. They're very convenient, portals into media. You know, that has the number one blow to, like, a piracy stuff, as Sword brought up in the chat, is the fact that it's just convenient. And that's what they're selling, is the convenience of being able to access stuff with no penalty.
As was also mentioned, I think we should at least make a little bit of a note about, because this is something that a lot of gamers and people in the scene, we use Discord for everything kind of these days. Like, it's my business, it's my personal, it's everything, right? I'm happy right now that Microsoft is not outright buying them, and that instead PlayStation is just going to partner with them. I don't know that it's a good thing, but it's better than Microsoft buying them and it turning into one of those services that possibly get swept up and eaten, right? So they want to roll it up and they want to connect it and make it part of their PlayStation network and stuff. I'm hoping that they leave the Discord experience on PC the way it is, or very minorly.
Well, this is just a partnership,
modified.
Right?
Like, this is not
this. Yeah.
Yes, but like when those two teams of coders start working, there's going to be slow changes and back and forth in between here.
Probably just no, man. Because so this is absolutely to PlayStation's advantage. They're not going to change the structure of Discord literally to they're not gonna roll the PlayStation exclusive stuff into mainline Discord, because that will be the advantage.
Oh no, I didn't assume that.
Right, like in any way, like they're not gonna, those teams will, one of the major selling points of PlayStation will be that it has Discord, right? Like, it's sort of, PlayStation will unilaterally benefit from the Discord partnership.
One of the things that is very interesting is that I play Apex with somebody who plays on an Xbox or PlayStation, and they want to talk to us Discord. So he pulls up his laptop, and then we talk to him through his laptop over Discord while he plays with us on a console. Like, so I see the bridge needing to be gapped.
Oh, absolutely. That's so sick.
This type of things would help that tremendously. Yeah. Like, him not having to play on his laptop and also try to play with us in game. Like, he could just, it would work. And the in-game in Apex, like, don't get me started. Like, you just can't. Discord is so much better than every game.
Yeah.
In-game audio.
What's going to happen here is that you're going to find that, like, I saw this coming when PlayStation and Xbox both switched to x86. Mm-hmm. I knew that consoles were dead. Like, consoles are now just mini PCs. It's coming. And they know it too. So what they're trying to do is basically set up your PlayStation and Xbox as just like a subscription service for like whatever games that you want access to, the exclusives. And then you'll buy that and you'll get crossplay and everything, like, because it's literally just gonna be running Windows in the background, and that's it. Like,
the breaking point's gonna come when somebody plugs a mouse and keyboard into it and it works. And the thing is, my brother's been doing this for years with a Zim 4 device, where he can literally take an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One, plug a keyboard and mouse into it.
Yeah, it's definitely coming, man. 100%. Well, what they really have is as an advantage. So Sword says the difference is that you can't really cheat on console, and
this is a very good point.
That's a good point, but
there's also, you can hack your PlayStation and root it, and
they're basically Steam
too.
Like,
but yes,
when it comes down to it, they're basically Steam. They have exclusives. They are a marketplace for games, essentially. So what's going to happen is that instead of being competitors with like one another and other consoles and like the Switch and the PC and stuff, they're actually going to become the major competitors to Steam, because the only difference between a console and a PC will be which games you can get on which platform. That's going to be, by the time, I think that's the future that they're setting themselves up for. And I'm sure Steam sees this as a threat as well. Like, there's no way that they don't see it. I think the writing's kind of on the wall, to be honest.
But yeah, go ahead.
Discord is you brought up an excellent point, though, that the being able to chat with people who are using PCs seamlessly and just being able to grow, like, be a part of a community without having to, like, literally, because now you could literally grow communities and stuff via console. Like, you could actually be part of a community. You don't need a PC if you're only using your stuff for games, right? And that's a very interesting. This is a very interesting side effect I hadn't
It's a really
thought
neat
of.
Side effect where they also might be able to get more mobile users, because they're like, oh, hey, you know that Discord app that you use to chat with your friends and build your community?
Yeah.
We also have a mobile app. Come check us out. Like,
yeah.
It's a really nice way to do that on their end as well.
Yeah. And partnerships like this will help fund Discord because Discord has a money problem.
Like, they have a serious money problem and have for years. But like,
they
go in
have
the
a
right
money
direction.
problem. And Nitro's not like the greatest.
Yeah, they need to hire somebody to write better scripts than, the message made it over the waves. Yeah. Like, they need to hire something to...
I mean, really what they should have done is, like, you should be able to, as the server owner, be able to pay for the extra features.
Yes.
Like, they should have a baseline service, and then they should sell you the extra features on top of it, because I'd pay $20 a month.
I think they're preparing to do something along those lines, because they just recently reorganized and like shed a bunch of the people that the partnership program and basically having your server partnered and all the boosts and everything. They recently just redid all that like in the last 6 months, and they are working on trying to purge out, and some of like the old communities are actually getting like de-partnered or whatever.
Yeah.
Which has kind of been interesting. So I'm hoping that that's on the way down. Just let me pay for my nice big full bitrate audio and let's go.
Yeah. I think I'm going to lose mine. Oh, wait. No, never mind. My weekly communicators is 97, so I'm going to pass it this time. They screwed me. This is blew my mind. So they said I had like 60 or something, chatters. I needed 50. And then when it gave me the report, it was like 49, which is one less than you need. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm going to fail the partnership. Like, just because of that. It's insane. I think I will pass it this time though. Yes. And they actually changed it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they went back.
This is what I was talking about.
They went back and actually updated the week that I was like scammed on, and they were like, "Yeah, you're good. It's 52," which is interesting. Okay, anyway, we're good. Great, I'm not gonna lose it. That's good. I got 8 weeks.
It shouldn't be. Well, the problem is we shouldn't be in this scenario. You should just be able to be like, "Hey, Discord, let me give you $200 and I'll get all these features for like a year."
True.
Like that's $200 is kind of high for that, but still, it depends on how big your server is. Also, like if you have
if you've got like 200,000 users or
like
something,
okay, well then they might need to be charged a little bit more. But like you can easily scale that with if you have a server with that many people in it, then you can hire sponsorships for it, etc. Crowdfund, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Discord's in such an interesting position because they also offer a competition to what's that audio app, Clubhouse. They literally released a feature that is basically that app as well. Like they have so much flexibility. Like they've really kind of positioned themselves to take on a lot of people with their product, like with the way that the servers are set up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like Clubhouse is an audio only conversation room where nothing is like recorded, and like it's just like people can sit in and listen to conversations without actually partaking. Kind of just like streaming essentially, but it's very interesting. Wait, did you buy Sword bought an Orochi? Did you buy Orochi V2? Like you bought this bad boy, right? The guy that I have on my desk.
Their online web store doesn't work in Firefox. You could only use Chrome. Razer's site apparently.
Oh, really?
Zero, that's what Sword Zero just said in chat here. Apparently.
I thought he was saying like Amazon or something. What the shit? Really? You can't use the Razer store in Firefox?
I'm gonna try this.
Dude, yeah, it's so funny because this mouse, man, like ever since I bought it, I've been on a straight like my MMR is literally GME right now. Like I think it was probably like 4,700 and like 4,650 when I bought it, and I'm like 5K right now. Like 5K even. We're on the climb. I've posted insane.
That's good
rates.
Progress,
dude. It doesn't make any sense. The only variable here is the mouse. Like
it makes a big difference.
Apparently, I don't know, man. I don't like to fillet products that much, but holy shit. Like it's actually such a comfortable shape. My only problem with it is the pre and post travel and the clicks, but other than that, and I'm getting used to it. That's why I always play. So like this is why I like to get into tech stuff, because a lot of people, they play for like 2 days and then they're like, okay, so you should buy this or you shouldn't buy this. Like I won't review a product until like 2 weeks. Like
I have to warm up to it. Like I just barely know if I like it yet or not. Like let alone
2 weeks in, like that's when I feel like I'm pretty acclimated. So then I'll give my verdict. But Yeah, no, like people who do 2-day reviews is kind of crazy. I could say for sure that it's like sick value, like the value you're getting for the feature set and like the quality out of the box is like worth buying if you were like desperate for something. But to give my full on like, yes, this is like probably the best mouse that I've used so far. Like I have to actually,
When I go to the checkout page, it gives me an error on Razer's store. I don't have any add-ins installed. I don't have any add-ons installed here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just a bug or if it's like they're trying to because I think you can do it on Brave, right? And Brave has way more protections built in. Yeah, it's probably
that would be interesting test
platform thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll fix whatever that is, I assume.
But to be fair, I have a lot of problems with websites loading in Firefox. Like Razer's not the only ones. I have a lot of issues with Twitch. Constant refreshing of the page, like constant issues.
This has been my old sad thing of watching Firefox slow decline market share when.
Yeah, dude. Like it's no surprise. Like I literally will have like assets in Twitch just not load. Like the chat won't load. And like you'll have pieces like elements just literally die. Like right there. It's so frustrating.
The Chromium engine kind of won. It's what Brave runs on and built in. What other like even the new Edge, right, is built in Chromium. Like everything
Edge is built on Chromium.
And that shipped default with Windows. Like everybody has that installed.
Chromium's open source as shit, right? So like we're pretty sure that it's not Googled. Like it's not Googleified, I'm pretty sure. It's like open source, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's like it should be safe enough, right?
Yeah.
Until there's going to be like a hacker day in Las Vegas and like guess
what?
Like
when something is open source, it's like really hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like,
because there's so many eyes. Something. There's so many eyes on it constantly checking every bit of it.
This is why Signal, like everyone sort of like pushed for the Signal thing. It's not because like WhatsApp boasts end-to-end encryption, even though they were trying to take some of that away. To like allow for more tracking stuff. The messages themselves is still the end-to-end encryption. It was just the metadata they were talking about. But the difference is that Signal at current time is open source. So like you can actually just read everything that the app does, like just digging into the code, and people will sandbox it. Like that's what happens. Like good programmers will sandbox an app and figure out what calls that app is making home and make sure that it's not actually tracking you and like they say it is because the app will communicate these things. It's not like, there's magic and poof, like they know all these things. Like, no, it has to send home. It can't just magically, like, know things. That is such a fallacious case in point. Recent malicious patches that were put into mainline kernel. But yeah, but they got caught, didn't they? No, I understand what you're saying. But, like, in general, the fact that it's open source is a little bit more, you get a little bit more confidence.
So one of the good policies that you're supposed to do as an organization is, even with security stuff, is to stay like one patch behind. Like even at like the top end high security places, or I used to work at one of these places that dealt with HIPAA laws and information security all over out the wazoo, right? If there's an update like this that's talking about in chat where something's injected into like the Chromium engine, like that's discovered because there's a paper trail. People will find it. Like it's not like you can't hide that. Yeah. Like you leave a track record right to yourself or that it happened.
Commits.
If you magically make yourself disappear out of the equation, there's still proof that it happened. And so you can scrub that clean, avoid that update, etc. You go ahead. What are you saying?
Did you see that? Like that's actually such a good topic, the Linux thing.
Yeah. You want to go for this one? Go.
Oh my god! Like, so I have a very, very high level knowledge. Like, I basically like glossed over the title and was like, I knew what it was implying, but a bunch of students that went what is it MIT? Not MIT. Is it MIT? Like
Michigan researchers.
Michigan research. Like, they can't make any more updates to Linux because they were squeezing in like vulnerabilities into the kernel itself.
Congratulations,
to see if anyone
got banned
would
for
notice. Life. Yeah, they just banned everyone from the entire school. Holy shit. Could you imagine? Oh my god.
Imagine paying tuition, going there and being like, yeah, I'm going to go work on this. And then some other random nerd gets your entire school banned.
My question is, how did they get caught? Because like that actually
they were dumb somewhere.
They just let in a vulnerability slightly
that's
too
dumb,
big.
Smart aleck answer, right?
Yeah. They can just use it. Yeah, sure, but I'm just very curious as to how they got caught. Like, did somebody realize something was wrong and then? Yeah, I mean, this is like the pro and the con of open source. Like, this is actually a very good discussion, I suppose, because the fact that something's open source means that anybody can see what's going on, but it also means that vulnerabilities can get pushed to it, and that and it's a double-edged sword in that way, because when a company hides their code, you don't know what they're doing, you don't know what they track, you don't know what what their their code does on the back end, but you can now know that no one else can do that too. Not only admit it, refuse to apologize and double down. Yeah. That's
professor?
Like the
it was a professor.
The professor is he's a Twitch streamer, man. Never, ever back down. Double down only. Double down on the meme. Always double down on the meme.
He's probably a YouTube streamer now.
Yeah, he's YouTubing. Jesus.
Ay. Apparently
never
it works.
Apologize. Double down. Yeah. That's crazy.
I think, like, in general, the open source path is going to be how, like, a lot of people go, especially with it's probably going to take quite a while for operating systems and everybody being able to get used to what Linux is and how it runs. But, like, your car already runs it. If you've touched Android, technically you kind of know how Linux works. You just have to repackage it, and then make sure that all games that are on a PC can run with it. When you actually take hardware and run the same software stack, and you're running Windows and you're running Linux and you're running the same, like OBS, let's pretend OBS, it's so much lighter on hardware and resources in general.
Yeah.
Like, it's the wave of the future, and already most server operating systems run Linux in some degree or another. Like, well, I guess I can't say that because of some of the Windows stuff that's happening, but in general, it's the way of, I think, how open source should be and how it's going to shape how we use technology in the future generations. Like, it might not hit until, like, another 10, 15 years, but it could happen super fast. And I think that's going to be kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
The stability of Linux cars and shit's amazing.
Linux is a platform. Like, my dad was using Linux ever since I was a kid, and like I've been exposed to Linux forever, and it just always seems like Linux is always just 2 or 3 things away from just being what everyone wants to use, but it's just the ecosystem's so bad. It's like the anti-Apple, like where it really is like the ecosystem. There's just no coherence and there's just no support. Like, at least it's always felt that way, and maybe that's like slowly changing. But yeah, he's it's just like so crazy how Apple is like everything has to work perfectly, and Linux is like whatever you want to do, buddy. Like,
just mix it all together.
You can just whatever, man. Kernel access, like, got it, go, like, do whatever you want.
You can fuck this ship up as much as you want.
Yeah, feel free, man. Like, it's just so. It's such a different mindset. It's so cool to see that they actually both work, like, for their own things. Like, the fact that it's so lightweight is so useful for certain tasks and so bad for other tasks. Like, it's just, you really have to pick your tool for the job.
Mm-hmm.
What does Docker do? Dude, I don't know. Yeah, so like, the thing is that with the M1 chip, man, so Source Zero says, man, if everything's supposed to work perfectly on Apple, what is Docker doing? So I haven't had a lot of experience with Docker. I don't know if you have. And I don't really understand. Docker's like a application wrapping type thing. I think, like, I don't even really understand how it works. Like, I imagine it's an application container wrapper or something that you can run. Like, I know I can run one on my Unraid server. I can, run different apps on it via this, like, standard. I don't 100% know it, but it's apparently very, very popular amongst app developers, and M1 Macs don't support it. But to be fair, there's a lot of shit that M1 doesn't support right now. Like, that's a whole. So I think M1 is a whole topic. Like,
so this is what it looks like. Is Docker is basically a container, and all the software inside the container has its own libraries and utilities.
Right.
I'm explaining this super basic for podcast listeners and stuff, but like you can easily package whatever code you want as your program into this container, and then it should be able to run everywhere on any platform that supports this type. And I think at some point there's going to be a push to be like, let's make something that runs across AMD, Intel, M1 chips, like the whole 9 yards. Or it's going to like coincidentally happen and just like everything will magically line up perfectly, and then like Linux's time will come right then.
Well, I see, the thing is that Linux has an interesting opportunity here, because M1 enabled Macs are by far the best value buy if you just look at performance that I think has been seen in a very long time. Like the M1 MacBook Air posts a 24-hour battery life with video enabled, like watching a video. 24-hour battery life. That is like the energy efficiency there, and we're talking full speed. Like it will run at max speed. I watched a couple of reviews of people plugging, like it was not only blowing the shit out of like AMD and Intel laptops at like max spec while they're plugged in, but would double their performance if they weren't plugged in, which is absolutely crazy. But Linux actually has like ARM versions. So now you can actually run Linux on your Mac in parallels at full speed, right? Yep. It's really interesting.
This is what I'm saying. Like, Kit Foxer in chat is saying Linux time has been, quote, coming, unquote.
Coming,
yeah, sure. We've been hearing this for 20 years, but like we have more and more evidence it's stacking up. Like when I was a kid, and I used to live in a situation where in order to download those 600 megabytes to a disk actually would take me so long that there was a service where you would pay $2 or $3 or whatever, and they would mail you the DVD or the disc that had the Linux code on it. Like, that's how bad my internet connection was. And I was playing with Linux way back then. We've come so far from then to now. Like,
Linux's thing has always been compatibility. Like they just if they can ever bridge that gap, and maybe ARM will be what does it. Like who knows? But if they can ever bridge that gap, dude, it's gonna.
One thing that's really gonna help them is Office 365. If you own an Office subscription, you're basically running a web browser. Like all the Word applications, web browser. Like your email applications, it's a web browser. You don't have to have a mail app anymore. It's a web browser. Like everything going that direction is going to help it as well. Hopefully someday. And then like all the websites being coded to be able to run on anything. Like we're getting better with coding websites so that they work on generally almost anything.
Dude, my sister's getting an M1 iPad Pro 13-inch literally because like everything that she'll need for school
runs in a web browser.
Runs in a web browser. It's got an M1 chip.
Google Sheets
and it's got literally the best writing experience on any tablet I've literally ever tried. It's like, yeah, man, like it's so crazy how that's changed, right? You're just basically running a full-fledged, like every app just runs in a browser now, and it makes porting so easy, you know, like full-fledged, and just like so many things have changed so recently, for like full-fledged iOS and stuff. It's like crazy.
It's going to be cool to watch what happens in the next 10 years, especially with all this stuff. I think it'll happen in the next 10 years is like my optimistic hope. And then I'll wait to be disappointed. But, you know, the biggest thing it's going to have is gaming. It's really hard to get games imported into Linux. But there's the whole thing of Google Stadia being possible. But the problem with Google Stadia is nobody has internet. Like, I have the internet to maybe use Stadia efficiently, but like nobody in the like it's 0.00% of people can use Stadia and have a real multiplayer game experience that's enjoyable.
Right. Well, that's the catch, right? The catch is that I think esports titles and multiplayer gaming are the consistency and like the consistency and backbone of gaming, right? Like people playing social games. Right? People play social games to buy time between single-player releases, like for the average person. Like I don't play single-player games anymore, pretty much, because StarCraft is my life. But for most people, they'll play like CSGO until like whatever new first player like single-player game comes out. And the internet just doesn't work like cloud gaming doesn't work well enough to play CS:GO or anything in any
Nowhere even
enjoyable
close.
way. Not even close. And it probably won't. Like, it's probably unlikely that it will ever be fast enough or snappy enough to be good. But single player games, it's possible.
Yeah.
Like, it's
a
very
glorified slow movie. You have a response time of 70, 80 seconds. Okay, sure. Or milliseconds, I should say.
But I feel like most multiplayer, like most competitive multiplayer games, like will be able to run on Linux. Doesn't CS:GO launch? Does CS:GO launch on Linux?
If it has, it must be new.
I don't know. I don't know.
This has just been its curse for so many years.
Yeah. Because gaming, like it's like unironically, gamers kind of run the tech world, and I've had this conversation like many times.
This is a really good point.
I've had this conversation many times with Twitch and people, like, especially when it came to like the GPU mining stuff, and like, why are gamers so important? Because gamers understand tech and they inform everyone else's positions on literally everything. Like, my parents turn to me for tech advice, and that's true of pretty much every single gamer. Like, you're the nerd, so everyone asks you for your opinion.
A lot of us in real life have in real life jobs that affect technology or work in that marketplace. Right. Like, we literally are shaping this. Like,
exactly. So like, if we have to use Windows all the time to get shit done, or like to play games or whatever, then when we have to work on something, we're gonna use whatever our preferred environment is. And it's like, well, yeah, that's why. Yeah, you've converted everyone to Windows because everyone had to be there, not because it was like the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to see Linux be. I'd love to see a future where I could actually have Linux running on. Because I'm such an anti-tracking person, it'd be great if I could install Linux, and have OBS running and play whatever I want to play. Like, that'd be great.
Microsoft not tracking me anymore. Count me interested. Like,
yeah,
if you install Windows, you gotta disable 17 things. Ay.
Yeah.
You got anything else for this podcast? You think that's about time to wrap it up?
No, it's time for me to go eat. But,
you're hungry?
Yeah.
It's hungry.
Yeah, we have food, so I gotta.
Awesome.
I gotta depart. Yeah.
Go enjoy hot food.
Okay. Good.
Shout out
good
to
episode.
your stuff.
Twitch.tv/UpperTreeZelda.
Okay, YouTube, Twitter, all this stuff. I'll do your shout
just every single place at twitch.tv/UpperTreeZelda.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Same with here. Cobra Venom, Cobra VE7, NOM7. Twitter's, Reddit's, all the things. We'll have these uploaded as YouTube videos in the near future, and audio in the next 2 or 3 weeks is the hope.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rush. I think until we have enough for Spotify memes. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It basically all goes through a Podbean type aggregator anyway.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for watching.
All right.
See you next time. Bye bye.